What am I doing today? I'm making goulash. Why are you laughing? My cameraman is laughing. Whether you're making, my camerawoman is laughing. I'm making goulash today, folks. Whether you want to call it a Croatian goulash, a Serbian goulash, a German goulash, I don't care whatever you call it, but this is big loose goulash, okay? So a lot of ingredients are going to it, but it's worth it. It's delicious. My special recipe. I've got some of them already ready over here. If you want to have a look. Mushrooms, onions, carrots, some herbs, some thyme, some rosemary. I've got garlic. Here I've got some gnocchi, which a lot of cultures they put dumplings and potato dumplings in their goulash. So I find it really easy to use gnocchi. It comes out fantastic. Over here I've got my beef. I've got some chuck, about 2 kilos of grain-fed chuck. It's really nice marbled chuck, so it's going to give it really good flavour. And I'm just browning it off. Come and have a look in my pot. So I'm browning it off really, really nicely. It's important to brown it off. As you know, the more brown it is, the more flavour. So I want this to all evaporate the moisture and start getting some colour. So I'm going to do it in a couple of batches, depending on how big your pot is. Excuse the steam. Just a second, let me light that camera. Are you fogged up? So I'm going to let that brown. What am I going to do next? Then I'm going to fry up my onions, my garlic. I'll get some bay leaves in there, some herbs. Then I'll probably put the meat back in and then start putting the veggies and then start building the flavour. So there's a lot of stuff to go into it. So I'll wait till all that's browned off, then I'll join you back here and show you the next steps. See you soon. Welcome back. I'm gonna make a mess here, so I'm trying to concentrate. Just topping up my squeeze bottle. I find this the best way to use olive oil in a kitchen, or any oil for that matter, because I use so much of it in this house, cooking 10 meals a day for everybody, including my camera woman. I find this is the best way, squeeze bottle, it's so easy. So I just top it up and have it handy, ready to go, sitting by the hot plate. Browned off my first lot of meat, as you can see here. Nice and brown, and that's just cooling off. And I'll put the second lot back in here, which is browning now. And later I'm going to add all of this back into my pan, including the juices, because that's where all the flavour is. So we'll join you back here in about 15 minutes and we'll start assembling. Welcome back, guys. Alright, so I've just taken out the second batch of beef, nicely browned here. You can see it's really steaming hot. So I've just gone in with my onions, come in close and have a look. I've just added a little bit more olive oil to the same pan. Don't need to use another pan. This is the one I'm going to use to cook it in. So my olive oil, my onions are in there. I'll just let them start to get soft. I'll go through the ingredients that I've got here. There's a few things I'm adding. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff in this recipe, but it's totally worthwhile. So we've got some red wine here. I'm going to put at least a cup, between a cup, maybe a cup and a half of red wine. We've got tomatoes. I've got a couple of tins of tinned tomatoes. I've got a jar of like a pasta sauce. You can buy any one you like. This one is Parmigiano and tomato. So any pasta base that you like is ideal. I'm adding this as well in. That's a little concentrated jar of pesto tomato sauce. And that's just going to give it a really nice rich flavour as well. We've got some tomato paste to add. We've got a couple of chicken stock cubes. I prefer chicken stock cubes, a little bit lighter in flavour. We've got a little bit of Vegeta we're going to chuck in there as well. Hello to my friends at Vegeta. This is not sponsored by Vegeta. We've got some bay leaf, we've got some black pepper, we've got some smoked paprika, some mixed herbs, and a little bit of Worcestershire sauce is going to go in there, as well as the rest of our ingredients that I mentioned earlier, which I'm going to start putting in soon. So I'll let my onions soften. I'll go in with the garlic. Then I will chuck in some of our veggies, mix all that in, and then get the meat back in. So I'll let this fry for a couple of minutes and we'll join you back in a sec. Alright, so I'm going to throw in the garlic now. Onions have been frying for a couple of minutes. You can see they're starting to go translucent, smelling really, really nice. So I use these really, really big organic garlic cloves. So I don't know what that is in terms of normal cloves, but that's probably equivalent to like 10 cloves of garlic. So you can adjust that to suit your own taste, but we love garlic in this house, so in we go. So I'll give that a quick stir. Don't need to cook that off for too long. I've got my pot on high heat too. For now, I'll turn it down later once we throw everything else in. Okay, so I don't need that to fry for too long. I don't want it to brown. I'm going to go in with my tomato paste next. As you do, it's nice to fry off your tomato paste to get rid of that nice, well, not so nice metallic-y taste. So a couple of good big tablespoons. It's quite a big serve I'm doing here, so I'm a little bit rough with my measurements, but I can put the recipe below so you can follow it. But it's about 2 kilos of chuck steak, about 2 onions, a couple of tablespoons of tomato paste, 10 cloves of garlic, like I said, about 1.5 cups of red wine, 2 tinned tomatoes, salt, pepper to taste. We're going to go in with some paprika as well, stock cubes and bay leaf. So, but like I said, I'll put all the recipe below, so you don't have to remember it now. I will chuck some bay leaves in there now as well, start frying off. And unlike the Italians, the Greeks like to leave their bay leaves in right to the end, so you pick them out when you're eating it. Okay, so that's smelling nice. Okay. So at this stage, I'm going to go back in with my beef and all the juices that are in the pot, because that's where all the flavour is. I'm not putting my red wine in yet because I don't need to deglaze this pan. I'm actually just putting the wine in for flavour, which I will put in soon. I'll just let that get up to temperature a little bit, start frying off, and then we'll go in with the wine. Nice big glug in there. I'd say that's a good cup, a little bit more. You can see my temperature's a lot hotter now, so that wine's going to cook off and evaporate. Smells fantastic already. That red wine just tastes so good. Leaves the flavour of the wine obviously without the alcohol, so you're not going to get drunk eating my goulash. Okay, so let's go in with some more stuff. Okay, mushrooms in, carrots in, quick stir, and now comes the fun part where I'm going to start building all the flavours. And the even better part, when you sit back and let it cook for 3 hours and don't have to do anything. Sit back with the rest of the bottle of red wine. Okay, so going in with my chicken stock cubes. I'm just going to throw all this in and give it a stir at the end. Maybe 1 to 2 teaspoons worth of vegeta. I don't want to go too high, too heavy. In with some black pepper. And you can always adjust these later on. I'm going in with my cans of tomato. I'm going in with the tomato pasta base. In with my little concentrated pesto base. I'm just going to give these a little rinse out with some hot water. So I'm just going to shake that and get all that flavour out. Rinsed out the both tins. I'm going to go in with some more water than that anyway, so don't be afraid to add it. In with some Worcestershire sauce. Some mixed herbs. And most importantly, some nice smoked paprika, which is going to give it that nice goulash flavour. So I've gone in with minimal herbs, spices, etc. at the moment. Just going to give this a stir. So I'm going to add a little bit more liquid to this. You can put stock cubes if you like. You can put chicken stock if you like, or beef stock, but I've gone in with the chicken cubes and the vegeta. So I'm going to top this up with some boiling hot water. And I'm going to start the cooking process and let all these flavours mingle together. And later on, I'm going to come back and test it and adjust my flavours as I need to. A little bit more Worcestershire, a little bit more salt, pepper, paprika, whatever you need. Test it as you go. Once you do it a few times, you'll know what flavour you're aiming for and what to add in and what you don't need to add in. So I'm going to let this get a little bit hotter. I'm going to go boil the kettle and put some hot water in and let it sit for an hour. Talk to you soon. Before I forget, guys, I've got my salt sitting on the bench here. I don't know if you've seen it. I love using the Malden sea salt. I haven't added any yet because I've put the stock cubes in and the vegeta, a little bit of Worcestershire. All that stuff is quite salty, so I wouldn't be surprised if I don't need to put any salt. But like I said, I'm going to let this cook for a while. I'll do all the seasoning later in the end, and if I need to, I'll add a little bit more. Also, I've just added a little bit more red wine in there because I kind of gauge as to whether I've got enough in there by smelling it. I like to be able to lean over the pot and smell the red wine. If I can't, I feel like there's not enough in there, so I'll just put maybe another 100 to 200 mils in there. So there's no hard and fast rules with it. You've got to make it the way you like it. And like I said, once you make it and start tasting it, you'll understand what you want and what you don't want in there. Okay, so I'll pop the lid on and see you back in an hour. Here comes the kettle. Okay, so get a close up. I'm going to go in with quite a bit of, this is boiling water. I just hate putting tap water in here and waiting for it to get the temp. So you can see the meat is very well covered. I'll probably just go in with the rest of that as well. Not much left. Okay. I did also put a little bit of garlic powder in there too while you were away. Forgot to tell you, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I decided to throw it in today. So I'm going to let this cook for a good hour for all the flavours to start mingling, and then I'll start tasting and I'll start adjusting from there. So I'll see you back here soon. I forgot to put my herbs in. I'm just going to give this rosemary a little chop, a really rough chop. So I've got marjoram, rosemary. Sometimes I put thyme in there as well. It's rosemary and marjoram for today. I've got my kettle boiling, which I'm going to bring over in a second. I will top this up. Now, while you're making this, just keep in mind you need a big enough pot because it does grow as you add your ingredients. So I used to cook this in a smaller pot like a Bessemer dish and it just overflowed every time. So keep in mind, we've still got 2 packets of our gnocchis to go in there, and that's going to bulk it up. And that's also going to absorb liquid too. So when you add liquid in now, don't be afraid to add quite a bit because this is going to cook for 2.5 to 3 hours and a lot of it's going to evaporate. You might need to top it up, but you need to leave some liquid at the end before you put this in because it is going to absorb liquid and it's going to soak it and it's going to dry. And if you're like us and you're not going to eat this all tonight, you're going to bag it, freeze it for, you know, the weeks to come. It is going to thicken even more while it sits and cools off. So just keep in mind, you want a good amount of liquid there and adjust it accordingly as to whether you like your goulash really thick or if you like it a little bit more soupy. So just keep that in mind. Okay guys, so we've been cooking for about an hour now. I've just given it a stir. Just going to give it a little taste test. I'll just grab a spoon. So this is where you start adjusting your flavours. Make sure you give it a good stir and get all the flavours in so you can taste it for what it is. Okay, that's coming along really, really nicely. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt. Going to add a touch more black pepper. And another thing I like to do with all tomato-based dishes like pastas and bologneses and goulashes, etc. Some people add sugar in there to balance it, but I like to add a little bit of tomato sauce. Obviously it's tomato base, so it goes with what we're making, and the sugar in the tomato sauce gives it that little bit of sweetness and just gives it a bit of a nice balance. So I'll give it another little stir. Give it another taste. Much better. That's all it needs, just a little tweak. So I'm just going to test that meat as well. I'll just give it a little bit of a pinch and see how soft it is. It's coming along really nice. It's quite soft, but I really want to give this a lot of time to cook and keep developing in flavour. So I'm going to pop the lid back on and I'm going to come back and check it in another 30 minutes. See you soon. And once the lid goes on, that's going to go all the way down to medium, to low. That's quite a big burner, so even on the lowest setting it tends to boil a little bit too much, so I might move that onto another burner just so I've got a little tiny flame just to keep it simmering. Whilst I'm doing the goulash, making some fluffy white bread rolls just so we can use to dip in and soak up the sauce, which is the best part of having a goulash. So I'll just finish mixing this and giving a little bit of bench time. We'll do another video on how to make these rolls later down the track, but for now, whilst I'm doing it, I just thought I'd show you the last little bit of it. So I've mixed my dough, it's sat for 10 minutes and I've scaled it off to 96 grams each or thereabouts, with the last one being 83 grams. I'm just going to round these up by hand into little rolls. I've got my baking pan here, which is actually a Detroit style pizza dish, which will be another series of videos coming up in the future. So we just want to round these up and get them reasonably close, evenly spaced in the pan. We're going to get 16 rolls in this pan, 4 rows of 4, and whatever I've got left I'll either discard or I'll put in another pan if I can be bothered doing another pan just for 3 rolls. It doesn't matter if they're not perfectly round, because as they proof they're all going to touch each other and they're going to become square rolls, as you'll see. This is typical of a soft white bread roll that you'll buy in your local supermarket. Oh, not better. This is what they look like. Beautiful, soft, fluffy bits of dough, dumplings, bread. So they're getting a little bit tacky because I've got a little bit of water in here. Just come in and have a look at this pan of water. So that's creating the steam, that's giving it moisture. So you can see these are kind of a little bit tacky as they're sticking to my fingers. That's how you want them. Not too wet, not too dry. So I'm just going to put a thermometer in there, just because I want to double check and make sure my temperature gauge on my oven is accurate. So I'll come back and check this in a couple of minutes, close it up, and I can't wait to show you the fluffy finished result before we pop it in the oven. Welcome back, guys. So as you can see, I've got my little packets of gnocchi here, which are already empty. So zoom into my pot and have a look. They're in. I'm going to leave these in for about 5 minutes. They're going to swell up and start absorbing all of this juice. As you can see, I didn't have to add any more liquid in there because I've got quite enough in there already. So this gnocchi is going to soak it all up, take all those flavours in, and it's going to be ready in about 10 minutes. So I'm going to bring you back and show you what the finished result is like. See you soon. Welcome back to my channel. Smash the like. Come inside. Have a look at my bread roll. That's a fake accent, by the way. Look at these bread rolls. They're getting bigger. See what I mean when they're getting square? Because they're touching each other, they're getting square, like a hot cross bun. Again, they're not too tacky. They're just coming along nicely. I've got it on 47 degrees because it's actually reading about 38 on my thermometer. And I've got 17 minutes, 55 seconds to go, and I'll see you then. Welcome back, guys. Time to get these fluffy bread rolls out. Have a look at that. Jiggle, 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 jiggle. Really light and fluffy. So, as you can see, they're not dry, they're not wet. And you can tell they're proof when you press it in, it bounces back like that a little bit and stays a little bit indented. So that's ready to go in the oven, 200 degrees, about 18 minutes. Let's chuck them in and I'll show you the finished result. Let's get these buns out of the oven. Take a look at this, guys. Ah, look at that fresh, hot bread. No need to go to your supermarket to buy your buns anymore. You can buy them right here and have as much fun as you like. Okay, so I'm going to get these out. This is always the hardest part. I've left my grease paper here a little bit longer so you can grab it and pull them out. That was done deliberately. There you go, and out they come. Important to get them out of your tray, because if you leave them in the tray, they're going to cool off and start sweating and the bottom's going to get wet. So I'm going to take this out. And what I like to do with my bread rolls, get them onto a cooling rack straight away. And that way they'll cool off and they'll stay dry. So a little trick that I like to do is brush the tops with butter. And that keeps them moist and soft, because I want these to be nice and soft. So I'm going to brush them with butter. Gives them a nice shine, gives them a nice flavour, and it helps that crust soften up, because after all they are a soft, fluffy bread roll. And just listen to that butter slapping onto these buns. You can think what you like about that one. Okay, so give them a nice coating. Once that's done, I'm just going to let them dry for a second. And I'm going to cover them with a couple of towels, and that's going to keep the steam in, and it's going to steam them and make them even softer. So if that's the kind of bun that you want, keep the steam in, let them steam. If you want them to be a little bit crispier, don't put butter on top, don't cover them, let them dry naturally, and they have a little bit of a harder skin. So I'm going to cover these up now, and I'm going to come back and show you later, once they cool off, how soft and fluffy they are. We'll break one open, dip one into our goulash, and have a taste. See you soon. Okay. So one towel on that side, one towel on that side, just to trap the steam in. And you might even see the steam coming through the buns, through the top. All right guys, this is the bit I've been waiting for. Also, while you weren't looking, I whipped up some pasta over here, because it's always really nice to serve with your goulash. So got a little bit of linguine I'm going to put in the bowl. You can use whatever pasta you like. I was meant to grab fettuccine, but I got my inis confused and I did linguine instead of fettuccine. So, all right, a little bit in the bowl. And let's have a look at this goulash. Stir that up. Make sure you get a bit of everything. Look at that. Take a look at that, guys. If that's not the best goulash you've ever had, I want to know. We're going to get stuck into that, and I'm going to let you know what it tastes like, and I'm going to show you the bread rolls in a minute, because it's to die for.
Wait,
Hey, you know what, from my mum? I'm really all still.
I knew you was going to wake up like that, I told you.
Crap, this thing is so good. Like, this meal, one of the best meals I've had in a long time. Probably my whole life, one of the best meals. It's so good.
Look at this goulash, guys. If you make this, it's going to be the best goulash you've ever had. Come and have a look at this. I'm going to crack one of these rolls open, and I'm going to dip this. I'm going to give it a taste test. This is the best thing. I've been looking forward to this for hours. Here we go. Oh my God. You have to do this recipe. It is to die for. I'm going to leave the recipe in the comments below. You have to give it a go. Any questions, send them all in. I'm happy to answer anything you got, and let me know what you think of the final result. And I will do a video on the bread rolls soon to let you know how to make them from scratch. Smash the like if you like the video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.